Hello, everybody. Welcome in. How are you doing? It is December 19th. 6 days till Christmas. Yikes, my hair looks like a nightmare. Um, Welcome in to the Bitcoin Made Simple podcast. Go to bitbox.swiss, use promo code Bitcoin Made Simple to get 5% off your order and get your coins off the exchange. Please, people. If you've seen anything with the ledger issue, and I haven't really dug that much into it, but you would probably want to get a Bitbox instead and secure your coins, successfully secure your coins with the easiest device to use. And also go to mymoviesplus.com, use promo code CORY. That is my first name, Corey, and you'll get a whole year for $2 a month. And you can't beat that with a stick. And we got a ton of good stuff coming for you guys there. Jeez, Louise, I'm all over the place. But I think today what I'm going to talk to you guys about is the Ordinals. Ordinals. I've purposely avoided this topic, but people are still talking about it, and it's annoying. So here's what I'm going to do. I have very limited research on it, so I'm going to do it here and give you my first reaction. All right. Ordinal inscriptions similar to what are ordinals? This is according to decrypt.co. So that's gonna be, they use that crypto word, so look out. Okay. So Bitcoin developers, I'll read this out loud. Bitcoin developers have worked to bring non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, to the number one blockchain for nearly a decade. Beginning in 2014 with Counterparty, the creators of the rare blah, 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 blah. Okay. What? No. All right, so Taproot is apparently a part of this. Here's the simplest. Ordinals are means of creating Bitcoin NFTs by attaching data such as images, videos, and more to an individual Satoshi on the base Bitcoin blockchain. Sounds stupid. That's my reaction. I mean, it's just a shitcoin. So, I mean, what's the value in it? I don't see much of a value. Let me try to think. Here's where, so when NFTs first came out, I remember being like, oh, there is a legit interesting thought here. Because, they were talking about NFTs with, like NBA highlights. And it was like, you could own this LeBron James dunk for $50,000. And it turns out that you didn't actually own it. So my initial reaction, where I thought, okay, this might have some value, if it has any value at all, would be if you had if you owned it, meaning anyone wanted to use it going forward, then they had to pay you royalties. That's the only way. So, for example, say LeBron James has an amazing dunk, and you can buy the NFT for it. Well, by golly, you are going to be in great shape to buy that NFT because if it's one of the most replayed dunks of all time, then on ESPN and everywhere else, they're going to want to replay that and play it over. And people are going to use highlight videos and all this kind of stuff that's going to be generating revenue for using that video clip. Then yeah, that has value. But what quickly became apparent is that no, that's not how it works. You just quote unquote own it. Nothing else, nothing more, nothing less. And from a business perspective, I'm like, well, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. From a coolness factor, if you have half a brain, it's the stupidest thing you've ever heard. If you have a zero brain, then maybe you're like, oh man, it's so cool, man. Like I own LeBron James's video. So stupid. So Ordinals, from what I've gathered from my limited research, is that, so forgive me for not being completely technically sound here, and I'm gonna drop the ball and trying to explain it technically. But again, this is Bitcoin made simple, and even though I talk about Bitcoin and other stuff, and I don't talk about Bitcoin exclusively, I guess. I don't talk about any other crypto. You guys know that, because anything that's not Bitcoin is a shit coin. So if you're new to Bitcoin, just keep that in mind. If it's not Bitcoin, it is a shitcoin. Take it from me and everyone who's been here before. It is undoubtedly a shitcoin. Where was I going with that? So, why would you want to put an image on the Bitcoin blockchain? I mean, I would use its OP return. Ben, the car man, he's the one that developed it. It's a tool where you can go in and pay to have a transaction go into the blockchain, and then you can type your message in, and that message will get imprinted into the blockchain forever, which is like cool. And so I did that with like different Movies Plus things. To premiere them, or like on premieres, I put notes out there about them. And then, but I mean, like, if you want to put an image there, it's like, I guess it's a way, if you're able to attach images to a Satoshi and they end up on people's nodes, then it's there forever. It's imprinted on people's nodes forever, or what have you. If you want to do that for almost like prevention of book burning, that's one way to look at it. Like you don't want a video scrubbed from the internet, so you can put it there because the Bitcoin blockchain will keep it going. That's one point of value, the only point of value I can really see, to be honest. But the more I think about it, the more I realize it's beyond that. There's nothing. So are speculators going to want to trade ordinals? Sure. But do I think a JPEG in somebody's node should be traded at a later date for more money? No. I think that's stupid. But just because I think something is stupid does not mean I shouldn't welcome it or let people do it. Free market will decide. That's the key here, is that the free market will decide on what is the best way forward. The free market always decides. So let's look at how the free market is handling it. Because right now, ordinals have cost mempool.space. There we go. So ordinals have caused fees to skyrocket. So for example, let's see how many unconfirmed transactions there are. There are 291,000 unconfirmed transactions. Let's look at the block rewards. So block 822004, the fees for that block were 1.8 Bitcoin. So as you guys know, the current Bitcoin, the current Bitcoin block reward is 6.25. But 6.25 Bitcoin, but thanks to the 1.8 Bitcoin in fees, it is the block subsidy. The last block, the whole reward was 8.078 Bitcoin, $341,119, if you must know, because the current Bitcoin price is $42,362.30. So you can go on, you can look and see where like these big ordinals, like for example, they transacted, like it's hard to see. Well, you guys can't see. I mean, this is a podcast, but if you ever looked at the block size, you can see all the little bytes and then like little squares, like one individual, and then a big huge square, somebody that like wanted to push and ram something through. So I would guess this is an ordinal here, but somebody put in, it was a transaction amount of half a Bitcoin, and the fee they paid was like $2,700. It was like point 0.59 Bitcoin. So let's calculate that out. So $42,000 Bitcoin times 0.59 equals $24,780. And somebody paid a fee of $2,700. So somebody paid like $2,700 to move $25,000, basically. $2,700 to move $25,000. That's a hell of a wire fee. But I'm assuming that this was an ordinal transaction. So yeah, people are still getting in their transactions for like small fees. Like somebody moved 0.02 Bitcoin. It's 0.027. So 0.027 times 42,000. So somebody moved $1,100 worth of Bitcoin for $4.01. So it's all relative. It depends on how long you want to wait for your confirmation. And I'm looking at the current block as things are getting built into it. So basically, the block fees, from what I can gather, the ordinals are taking up a bunch of space because people are jamming. But miners prioritize the fees, the transactions with the highest fees. So because of that, people are paying higher fees to get their transaction through on the next block. And it's all because of this ordinal thing. And people were like, oh, like, stupid Udi, like, oh, like, we broke Bitcoin, blah, blah, blah. Like, first of all, if that's what you really wanted to do, then congratulations, you moron. Like, he's just a clout chaser and not worth paying mind to it. So if you're new to Bitcoin, don't pay attention to Udi. He's a complete and total waste of time. He has, if he only had a brain, and was only here to do anything but clout chase, then maybe he'd be worth your time, but he's not. So yeah, from what I gather, the ordinals look like a waste. Now, is it going to kill Bitcoin? No. The thing that's nice is if you get a BitBox02 hardware wallet, go to bitbox.swish/BitcoinMadeSimple. Use promo code BitcoinMadeSimple to get 5% off. And I know you guys use that a lot because I get a little notification when you use it. But the block rewards have been better. The block rewards have been higher because it's made... I mean, you look at it this way. When I initially started mining Bitcoin, the when I initially started mining Bitcoin, fees were like maybe like point 0.3 Bitcoin at most. Um, so you would get, let's just for simple math, it was 6.25 Bitcoin the block reward, and there was 0.25 Bitcoin uh, as the fee. So you'd get the block subsidy would be 6.5 Bitcoin. So 6.5 Bitcoin as opposed to right now, the last one was 1.8 Bitcoin. So 6.25 Bitcoin plus 1.828 Bitcoin equals 8.078 Bitcoin. So divide that by 6.5 and you've got a 24% increase in profitability. Pretty significant. So frankly, as a miner, I would love to see people mining, doing ordinals and paying even more, higher fees. Will Bitcoin survive long term? Absolutely, but there is there is such a thing as block space scarcity, and you look at, so here I'm going to look at Bitcoin mining calculator. Bitcoin mining calculator. But block space scarcity is a real thing. And going forward, as when you onboard 8 billion people to the Bitcoin network, we all know you're not going to be able to transact on it like Visa or any other. That's why we have the Lightning Network. That's why we have the that's why we have the Lightning Network. That's why we have all the layers being built on top of Bitcoin, where everyone else, and that's why I say, frankly, the average person will never transact on the Bitcoin main layer, and that's okay. But really, eventually, it'll be like institutions. Just imagine, if you will, institutions and big banks, that are these clearinghouses moving massive sums of cash, to settle things up at the end of the day. And that right now happens through the banking system, and it's a disaster. But imagine it's on the Bitcoin layer, and think about how valuable Bitcoin's going to be then, if the only way that you can transact on the Bitcoin layer is if you have enough to pay the fees, and it's going to be significant. So Bitcoin itself will probably be very, very expensive, because you got to think about the overnight markets and everything where they go to settle bank statements and make sure all the banks are square, bank fees, ACH fees, all the different fees that get paid in the banking world. I'm not saying that they're all going to transition over, because Bitcoin should be freer and a more fair system, which it will be. It will be, but fees will be part of it if you want to move cash. So you'll have your money maybe on the Lightning network, and that's your spending money, spending to and fro, but you have some of your Bitcoin sitting in cold storage that is never going to get touched until you absolutely need it, at which case it might cost you, let's say you have one Bitcoin on a BitBox02 hardware wallet, which is the hardware wallet that you should have. So you have one Bitcoin on it, which is $42,000. And you want to transact it, you want to move it, and you want to put a premium on it. Like that person, that was probably an ordinal or whatever, but like if you want to move the whole Bitcoin and you want to pay $2,700 to move it, that's insane. But in the future, it might cost $2,700 to move any Bitcoin, any transaction. But if one Bitcoin is worth $1 million, that's really not that bad. That's what? 3%, 2.7% transaction fee. If Bitcoin's worth $10 million, which Hal Finney, with Hal Finney and I believe, based on his accurate assessment, then if you take the dollar circa 2009, take all the dollars in the world and divide it by 21 million, it comes out to 10 million. So $10 million in spending money circa 2009 is what Bitcoin should be worth, which should be a lot more right now. Let's say Bitcoin's worth $10 million. Are you going to care if you pay a that would be a, not 2.7, that would be a 0.27% fee. My math might be off, but regardless, I don't think it is. Here, I'll do my math real quick for you. Calculator. Okay, so 2,700 divided by 1 million is times 100. Ooh. So yeah, 1 million. At $1 million. 0.27. Wait. $1 million times 0.27%. Yeah, at a $2,700 fee at $1 million is 0.27%. So I was off by a decimal point in the good direction. So at $10 million times 0.27%, or 10 million divided by 2,700. Oh, wait, no, I did that backwards. God, I am terrible. So you can see why I'm such a scholar. So 10 million. Yeah. At $10 million Bitcoin, a $2,700 transaction fee is 0.027%. I'm sure the fee might get a little bit higher, but just using that as a for instance. But I would be using the shart out of that network because it's valuable. And also, it's going to be valuable for Bitcoin miners. So, all in all, my first look at it and first real foyer is the opening, the entrance of a building. My first foray into looking at Ordinals, and I think they're worthless, but ultimately the fees are good. And that's why, like I said to you guys before, you should get a DCA machine, also known as a Bitcoin miner, because that's the most accurate way to, or the most secure and safe way to get your Bitcoin and put them on a BitBox02 hardware wallet. And enjoy the fees now, because right now, I don't know exactly what it is, but let's say I'm spending like $6 a day in electricity and probably getting about $12 worth of Bitcoin a day. I don't know. I gotta drill down on that number. Maybe I'll get that number for you guys next week. But I might put one more out. I know I'm late on this one. Christmas is coming up, so I'll try my best to get these pumping out for you. But I appreciate all of you guys, and I hope if I do not talk to you before then, I hope you have a Merry Christmas, and I will talk to you guys later.